What if I told you a 20-year-old vanished into thin air,
Right after leaving a party.
and 7 years later, there's still no trace, not a single clue, nobody?
It's one of the most baffling cases. We're talking about Ryan Shtuka. He was last seen just putting on his coat, getting ready to go home. A walk that should have taken, what, maybe 10 minutes.
Ryan Shtuka was just steps from home. He never arrived.
And that disappearance, that complete silence, has created this void.
This case has haunted a ski resort community and sparked theories that just won't go away.
Welcome to Whispers of Crime.
Subscribe to Whispers of Crime on YouTube and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and, well, all podcast platforms. Like and comment on this episode, and if you haven't yet, listen to our previous episodes for more cases like this. So let's start at the beginning. Before this tragedy, who was Ryan Shtuka?
Ryan was.
Yeah?
He was born on March 17, 1997 in Beaumont, Alberta. And from everything we've read, all the sources, he was just a great kid.
Yeah.
Sarcastic, funny, really smart.
Just a normal 20-year-old starting his life.
Exactly. He was doing that very Canadian thing, heading out to the mountains for a season of work and adventure.
A ski season in BC.
Right. He and his best friend arrived in Sun Peaks, British Columbia on December 1st, 2017. He had a job lined up as a lift operator at the resort. He was settled. He had friends, a job. There was nothing to suggest he was planning on just leaving.
We need to paint a picture of Sun Peaks for people who don't know it. It's not a big city.
Not at all. Sun Peaks is, well, it's pretty remote. It's about 60 kilometers northeast of Kamloops. It's actually Canada's second largest ski area. Huge, about 4,400 acres.
But the village itself?
The village is tiny. It's compact. It's a high-altitude bubble, really.
Mm-hmm.
And in the winter, the population is mostly young, seasonal workers like Ryan. Everyone kind of knows everyone. It's very close-knit.
That kind of isolation, it can give you a false sense of security, can it?
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
You think you're safe. You're in this beautiful, contained little world where everyone is a friend. The distances are so small, You can walk from the pub to your staff house in minutes.
And that's exactly why what happened is so terrifying.
Precisely. Because he wasn't lost in the vast wilderness. He vanished from right inside that tiny, supposedly safe bubble.
Okay, so take us to that night. Friday, February 16th, 2018.
It started out as a completely normal Friday night for a bunch of 20-somethings at a ski resort.
Yeah.
Ryan, his roommates, some friends, they all went to a silent disco at a local pub.
Just a typical night out.
A very typical night. And after the pub, the group moved on. They went to a house party on Burfield Drive.
And Burfield Drive is right there in the residential part of the resort.
Yeah, right in the heart of it.
Yeah.
We know from witnesses that Ryan was drinking that night, and there are some reports that he might have taken MDMA as well.
So by the end of the night, he was likely pretty intoxicated.
Yes. And that's a critical piece of this. Impaired judgment in a dark, cold, snowy environment. It's a dangerous combination.
Let's focus on that critical window, the moment he disappeared.
We have to zero in on the time, around 2:00 a.m. on Saturday, February 17th. This is the last time anyone can definitively say they saw Ryan Shtuka.
What exactly happened?
At about 2:10 a.m., witnesses inside that house party on Burfield Drive saw him standing, getting ready to leave. He was putting on his blue coat and a burgundy ball cap.
And everyone just assumed he was heading home.
Everyone did. His own place was just a 5 or 10 minute walk away, a walk he'd done dozens of times.
And his friends, his roommates, where were they?
They left at the same time. They walked out of the party, and they just believed Ryan was right behind them.
They just believed it. They didn't check.
They didn't check. They assumed he was there.
Right.
And that's maybe the most heartbreaking part of this, that tiny moment, that assumption, because he never made it home.
I can't get past that. It's freezing cold. Your friend is intoxicated. How do you not turn around? I mean, online, people have really gone after the roommates for this.
They have. And it's understandable. It just doesn't make sense to us from the outside. But, you have to try to put yourself there. It's late. Maybe you're intoxicated too. You're in your own conversation. And you're in this place where you feel completely safe. Maybe they just didn't think. It was negligence, probably, born from that false sense of security.
Negligence with the worst possible outcome. So when did people realize he was actually missing?
Not until later that morning. Ryan had a shift as a lift operator. He didn't show up for work.
That's the first red flag.
A huge red flag. That's when his roommates knew something was seriously wrong, and they filed a missing person report pretty quickly. His parents, Heather and Scott, They got the call a few hours later. They immediately started the 10-hour drive from their home in Beaumont, Alberta.
That must have been the longest drive of their lives.
I can't even imagine. And right away, police are looking for clues. Is this a kid who ran away?
So they check his digital life, his phone, his bank cards.
And that's when this case goes from worrying to terrifying. There's nothing. Absolutely zero cell phone activity, zero bank transactions, zero social media posts since he vanished.
A complete void.
For a 20-year-old in 2018, yes, It's a complete digital blackout. It tells you immediately this wasn't voluntary. Something catastrophic happened to him or his belongings in that 10-minute window.
So whatever happened, it happened fast, and it happened right there.
And then you have to factor in the environment. The weather that night was just an absolute death trap.
How cold was it?
Sun Peaks is high altitude. Up in the alpine areas, the temperature dropped to minus 26 degrees Celsius.
Wow.
Yeah, that's minus 15 Fahrenheit. Even down in the village where they were, it was around minus 10 Celsius. That's deadly cold, especially if you're impaired. Your body just can't handle it. The survival window it's minutes.
And on top of the cold, there was the snow.
The snow. That became the natural concealment mechanism. A storm just hammered the resort right after he disappeared.
How much snow?
Over half a foot. About 22 centimeters of fresh snow fell in the 48 hours right after he went missing.
So it's like the entire crime scene or accident scene was just wiped clean.
Completely erased.
Yeah.
Any footprints, any scent trail for the dogs, any dropped item, it would have been buried almost instantly. Gone.
And you have other dangers in that kind of environment, right? Things like tree wells.
Absolutely. A tree well is. It's a hidden trap.
Yeah.
The branches of a big evergreen tree can shelter the area around its trunk so the snow doesn't pack down there. It creates this deep, soft pit.
A void under the snow.
Exactly. And if you stumble and fall in, especially head first, the loose snow collapses around you. It's like quicksand. You can suffocate or freeze in minutes, and you'd be completely hidden from view.
So he could have just stumbled off the path and into one of those.
It's a very real possibility.
Yeah.
Between the gullies, the creek beds, and the tree wells, the terrain itself could have swallowed him whole, making him impossible to find until the spring.
We're going to take a moment here. When we come back, we'll get into the massive search for Ryan and the paradox that left everyone completely stumped. While we do, if you're finding this exploration of the facts compelling, please subscribe to Whispers of Crime on YouTube and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and all podcast platforms. Like, share, and comment on this episode, and listen to our previous episodes for more cases like this.
Okay, so the alarm has been raised. The authorities know this is incredibly serious because of the weather. The response was immediate, and it was massive.
What kind of resources are we talking about?
Everything they had. Kamloops Search and Rescue was on the ground immediately. The RCMP brought in helicopters, drones with infrared to look for heat signatures.
Heat signatures under the snow.
Exactly. They used snowmobiles, dive teams to check any frozen water bodies, and most importantly, they brought in the canine units.
The search dogs?
5 of them. And these are highly trained search and rescue dogs.
So you have this huge professional search effort, plus hundreds of volunteers who came from all over, descending on this one tiny resort village. You'd think they would have found something.
You would. But the conditions were just impossible. The official Kamloops search and rescue effort, they had to suspend it after only 2 days, on February 19th.
2 days? That seems so fast. That must have been devastating for his family.
It's a brutal reality of search and rescue protocol. Their mission is rescue, finding a survivor. And after 48 hours in those temperatures, with that snowfall, the probability of survival was effectively 0.
So it shifts from rescue to recovery.
It does. And at their point, it becomes an RCMP investigation, not a SAR mission. The Mounties' initial theory was pretty straightforward.
Accidental death by exposure.
Right. They put out notices asking everyone in Sun Peaks to check their sheds, their garages, any unlocked cars. The thinking was that maybe Ryan, disoriented and freezing, tried to find shelter somewhere and succumbed to the cold inside one of those places.
A very common scenario in these cases.
Very common.
Mm-hmm.
But they checked everywhere and found nothing. And that leads us to the absolute core of this case, the zero trace paradox.
Explain what that means.
Despite that huge, exhaustive search by professionals, by dogs, by drones, by hundreds of volunteers, absolutely no physical evidence of Ryan Shtuka was ever found. Nothing.
Not his coat, not his hat.
No blue coat, no burgundy cap, no cell phone, not a single item.
How is that even possible?
That's the question that haunts everyone. If he had just collapsed from the cold, One of those 5 search dogs should have picked up a scent.
Yeah.
Something should have turned up. The fact that nothing did,
Hmm.
it suggests 2 possibilities. Either he was sealed in a deep concealment spot so perfectly and immediately that no scent escaped, or he was removed from the area entirely very, very quickly after he left that party.
And the big test for the environmental theory was always going to be the spring.
Yes. The spring thaw, the family, the community, they spent months just waiting, hoping that as the snow melted, he would be found.
And the snowpack there can be huge.
It was immense that year, up to 14 feet deep in some spots. But when it finally melted, nothing. The ground was bare, and there was still no sign of Ryan.
That must have been the moment things really shifted, when the possibility of an accident started to feel less likely.
I think for the family, that was a turning point. And that's when they became investigators themselves.
His parents, Heather and Scott.
They did something incredible. They moved to Sun Peaks to continue the search year-round. They refused to just sit and wait. Heather, his mom, she organized these incredibly methodical searches. They weren't just walking in lines anymore.
What were they doing?
They realized the terrain itself could be hiding him. So they brought in heavy equipment, excavators, bobcats. They started systematically digging through areas where he could have been buried. Underbrush, debris fields, places that regular searchers just couldn't get to.
My God, the physical and emotional toll of that.
That's unimaginable. His mother, Heather, would make that 10-hour drive from Beaumont every single month to keep the search going. She said at one point, "It doesn't seem like there's an end in sight."
They just refused to give up.
They created their own full-time expert search operation. But even with all that effort, over 7 years, the zero trace problem is still unsolved.
Okay, so when you have a complete lack of physical evidence, the investigation has to split into 2 paths, right? Accident versus something else.
Exactly. You have the environmental theory and you have the third-party intervention theory. And the RCMP has had to walk a very fine line with this.
What has been their official stance?
Publicly, the Kamloops RCMP has been very consistent. They say that after interviewing everyone at the party, everyone in the community, they have found no evidence of foul play.
Which is a very specific phrase.
It is. It's meant to reassure the community, which depends on tourism, that there isn't a predator on the loose. But finding no evidence isn't the same as saying it didn't happen.
So they haven't ruled it out.
They've been very clear about that. Foul play has not been ruled out. The investigation is still open. This is not a cold case. They're waiting for a tip or for evidence to finally surface.
And there was one tip, one witness account that completely contradicts the no foul play idea.
This is probably the most significant and most frustrating piece of the puzzle. The account from a witness named Jim Reed.
Who was he?
He was a local resident who lived near the party house on Burfield Drive. And he told police he heard something very disturbing in the early morning hours of February 17th, right in that critical time window.
What did he hear?
He reported hearing a loud, angry male voice yelling, "Get in the fiend car! Get in the fiend car!"
Wow. That's not an accident. That sounds like an abduction.
It points directly to some kind of violent confrontation or a forced removal. It fits the time. It fits the place.
So how can the police hear that tip and still say they don't believe there's a criminal element at large? It feels like those 2 things can't both be true.
It's a huge contradiction. And for investigators, they have to weigh that.
Yeah.
Was the witness reliable? Could he have misheard? Without any other evidence to back it up, no tire traps, no signs of a struggle, a single audio account is very difficult to build a case on. But for the public, and for people online, that tip became the anchor for all the criminal theories.
Because the silence demands an explanation. If he didn't just wander off, something had to have happened to him.
Exactly. And that vacuum has been filled with theories. The strongest one, the one that makes the most logistical sense, is the hit-and-run theory.
Explain that one.
The theory is that Ryan, walking home in the dark, maybe stumbling a bit because he was intoxicated, was accidentally hit by a vehicle.
A drunk driver leaving the same party, maybe?
Possibly. And in that moment, the driver panics. They know their life is over if they're caught. So instead of calling for help, they put Ryan in their vehicle and drive him off the mountain. They dispose of the body somewhere in the vast wilderness between Sun Peaks and Kamloops.
And that would explain the zero trace result.
Perfectly. It explains why the dogs found no scent trail leading away from the road. It explains why the massive search of the resort found nothing. He was gone within minutes.
Then you have the darker theories, the ones that suggest it wasn't an accident.
Right. The drug debt theory. There have always been rumors, though never confirmed by police, that Ryan was involved with drugs beyond just casual use weed, MDMA, and that he might have owed someone money.
So this would have been a targeted abduction.
That's the idea, that he was grabbed by dealers or enforcers, maybe from the Kamloops area, to be made an example of. This theory also aligns with the get in the car account from Jim Reed. It suggests he was a specific target.
And the third major theory points the finger back at the party itself.
This is the idea of a cover-up. The theory goes that maybe Ryan had a medical emergency at the party, an overdose, and the people there panicked. Instead of calling 911, fearing they'd all be in trouble, they disposed of the body themselves. The speculation is maybe they put him in a dumpster that was picked up early the next morning, or buried him in the snow nearby before the big storm hit and covered everything up.
But could a group of kids keep a secret like that for 7 years?
It seems incredibly unlikely. The pressure, the guilt, someone usually talks. But if it was only 1 or 2 people, maybe. It's a theory that persists because it's one of the few that explains a disappearance within such a close proximity.
And all of this is happening against a backdrop of other men going missing in that same area.
Yes, and that fueled broader fears. At the time, there were about 6 men, including Ryan, who had gone missing in and around the Kamloops area. It led to terrifying talk of a possible serial killer.
Did the police ever link the cases?
Officially, no. The RCMP said they found no concrete links, but for the public, it created this atmosphere of fear. It felt like something very dangerous was happening in the BC interior.
We're now 7 years on, and as his mother Heather has said, they have the same information they had on day 1.
It's a horrifying reality. The investigation is stalled. And in that void, the family's mission has become about advocacy.
They didn't just search, they started trying to help others.
They did. Heather Shtuka wrote a book, a #1 bestseller, called Missing From Me. And it's not just about their grief, it's a guide. It's a chronicle of the search, the bureaucracy. It's a tool for other families.
And that led to an actual organization.
Right. She co-founded the Freebird Project. It provides resources and support to other families of missing people across Canada. They essentially created the support system that they so desperately needed but didn't have when Ryan first disappeared.
And the community in Sun Peaks, they haven't forgotten him.
Not for a second. Every February, they hold an event called the Run for Ryan to mark the anniversary and keep his story alive. And they have the green Shtukasaurus.
A little green dinosaur.
Yeah, it was Ryan's favorite animal.
Cool.
So they created these little tokens, and people have taken them all over the world. It's this quiet, constant, global reminder that he is still missing.
The family also increased the reward for information.
They did. It's now up to $25,000.
Yeah.
It's a direct appeal to whoever is holding that one piece of information that could break this case open. They're hoping it's enough to make someone finally talk.
But if he is still on that mountain somewhere, finding him now seems almost impossible without some kind of new technology.
It does. And that's what professional search organizations, like Please Bring Me Home, have focused on. They believe the next step has to be specialized tech searches.
You mentioned GPR earlier, ground-penetrating radar.
Exactly. GPR sends radar pulses into the ground to look for anomalies. It can see things buried under soil, under debris. It's the best hope for searching areas that were inaccessible before, like collapsed culverts or places where snow and debris have been piling up for years.
It feels like the last option, using technology to search the Earth itself.
It really is. The tragedy here is that the environment may have perfectly concealed an accident, or it may have perfectly concealed a crime. And 7 years later, the family's goal is just so painfully simple.
They just want to find him.
They just want to bring their son home so they can move past this agonizing limbo of not knowing. That's all they're fighting for.
When you look at all the facts, all the sources in this case, you're left with this profound, just bottomless mystery. How does a person walk out of a party and completely cease to exist, leaving no trace behind?
This case is such a stark reminder of how fragile our systems are. Modern investigation, with all its technology, was defeated by a combination of extreme weather and, potentially, human cruelty. The official file is a contradiction. No foul play found, but a forensic reality that screams he was removed from that scene.
The initial search was so thorough, it seems impossible that he was on the surface anywhere in that resort, so if he's not on the mountain.
Then the answer isn't buried under snow or dirt. The answer is buried in someone's memory.
It's in the silence of a person, or maybe a small group of people who know exactly what happened in those dark early hours of February 17th, 2018.
Someone knows. That's the only certainty here. And that person holds the key to ending this family's 7 years of waiting.
The RCMP investigation into Ryan Shtuka's disappearance is still open. The The family is offering a $25,000 reward for information. If you know anything at all, please call the Kamloops RCMP. The number is 250-828-3000. Don't assume your tip is too small or that someone else has already reported it.
And we really encourage you to look up Heather Shtuka's book, Missing From Me, and to learn about the Free Bird Project. The work they're doing to help other families is Ryan's legacy.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the disappearance of Ryan Shtuka.
Subscribe to Whispers of Crime on YouTube. Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and all podcast platforms. Like, share, and comment on this episode. And please listen to our previous episodes for more cases like this.